everybody. My name is Carter Hull, and I'm joined again by the program director at West Texas A&M University. Uh, you may have seen him, recognized this man before. His name is Isaiah Tanner. Isaiah, how's it going, my man?
It's going good, man. How are you doing?
Good. So far so good. So see, like you got a different setup from the last time we had our podcast together. I kind of like
Yeah,
it.
well, yeah. I used the same deal as last time. I just not in my house at home. So
That's pretty cool, man. So the reason why we're kind of talking today about a podcast is because you, like as I mentioned, you are the program director at WT, right?
yes.
Okay, so how long have you been doing that before I get into the big topic?
Let me think. Officially, I've been the program director since January last year,
Oh,
but
really?
I started doing it probably in September, September or October of last year.
Oh, really? That's been pretty cool. So
Yeah,
you've been doing it for a minute.
yeah. Probably just about a year. So,
Okay, cool. So how'd you initially get into that role?
uh,
Oh,
so
sorry, go ahead.
I was head lab assistant at the tech room on campus for a bit, and then I eventually just moved over to that whenever the PD before me just kind of quit. And I think that they had other stuff going on. And so they're like, well, we need somebody to do this. I said, hey, why don't you do it? And I said, all right, cool. I want to do it anyway. So,
So kind of a perfect fit, perfect timing, kind of right place, right
yeah,
time thing.
yeah.
That's pretty cool. So as I kind of mentioned earlier, that WT or KWTS, KWTS, if I can speak properly, excuse me, rather, is having a pretty big milestone in its history. It finally reached its 50th anniversary. So it's kind of a lot of new things is going on. So they're finally up to something and they're doing some big stuff around there. So first, I want to get your thoughts. Like, what's it like for you being the program director, someone that at that position? What's it like being at this, I guess, point in its history?
Well, it's really cool. I've gotten to connect with a bunch of old program directors from the station, and I mean, I was pretty much the one all summer reviewing music and getting stuff ready to do the reformat that happened Wednesday.
Oh
So
yeah, that's
I
pretty
mean,
cool.
that thing has been my baby for the past 6 months of my life.
So it sounds like you've been putting a lot of time into a lot of time and effort into it.
Yeah, I was working on that every day during the summer, and I mean that was yeah. So it's launched, and we still got work to do on it. It's not fully done yet, but it is good enough to be rolling, and so that's why we're rolling with it.
Heck yeah, for sure. So, I did the radio station for one semester while I was there for the practicum and anything like that. So, whenever I was doing it, that was back in, gosh, I get confused either the fall or the spring semester of 2020. I can't remember, but I knew it was like in the midst of like right like in the smack dab of like a pandemic and all that. So, but back in that time though, I say the radio station was doing like I guess like rock music, alternative rock music and stuff like that. So, when you're talking about like reforming and everything like that, so is that like can you kind of go into that? Are y'all still playing the same music or? Can I talk about like the reforming of it?
So what's going on is we were officially a college rock format radio station. And so we decided that we wanted to change it to become an all 90s station. And so we're playing 90s rock, 90s country, 90s hip hop, rap, R&B. Uh, Hip hop, rap, and R&B aren't entirely there yet. We're still having, because those just take time. You got to go through and you got to check all the lyrics and make sure it's all clean. And so, I mean, that's why we're taking our time with that right now. Because we want to make sure we do it right. And we don't want to be sitting there trying to dig ourselves out of a hole later. Um, but so we also have like, of course, all the pop on there. And I mean, we still have all of our students shows. So students, for your listeners that don't know, we have students that host special programming on there. And so they get to play their own music. I mean, I host a show called the Untitled Country Show, and maybe you'll figure out what the title is. because we don't have one yet. Um,
Love it.
and so yeah, we're still rolling with that. I mean, we're just not. We're still a pretty rock heavy station. It's just not as much as what we used to be. I mean, heck, we went from what was it? I was listening to it the other day, and it went from a like a Slipknot song, and we only got one Slipknot song, but it went from Slipknot into Vince Gill, and it was like the
Wow.
really sad Vince Gill stuff. And so it was just we are sitting there going, that shouldn't work, but it works. And I mean, I think that makes it better. Is it's just you know, it's got something for everybody now.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like it. I mean, going from Slipknot to Vince Gill, it's kind of really
We
different for
got a
sure.
range.
Yeah, there's definitely an algorithm there that's gonna hopefully please everybody. But um that's kind of cool though. You talk about like there's different you talk about kind of going through the different, I guess, parts of it and everything like that, trying to find songs that are clean and things of that nature. And just that whole process seems kind of like neat to me. I don't know why it's kind of different, but like so crazy that you're adding like, or I guess KW and KWTS are adding just a variety for everybody to listen to. That's kind of cool. Like what made you like decide on 90s? Like what about that decade? Like was there any do you know if there's any specific casing behind that? Hey everybody, I just want to say thank you for tuning into this new episode of the What Really Happened podcast. And before Isaiah answers that, I just want to say if you haven't already, just please subscribe, like, and leave a comment of maybe your favorite 90s song or something like that, you know, something from the 90s that you liked or favorite song, band, whatever. So something, leave a comment, do something, like, and share this video if you want to, subscribe. There's got to be some more videos coming out, so I just can't thank you enough for watching it. So let's get back right into it.
Well, so the deal was is we had uh I mean, there's something in the 90s for everybody. And I mean, that's why we decided to go with the 90s. Um, just because it's a little closer. And the deal was is we just weren't getting the engagement we wanted. And so we figured that, hey, if we go with this, then we will we can put all the songs on there and not have to, because so the radio station, we downsized a little bit. Whenever I went through it in the fall semester of 2019, I mean, there was probably 7 people on staff for KWTS, just KWTS alone.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, now it's me and one other guy. That's it. And so, I mean, um, one of the things was is we just couldn't find somebody that would sit down and listen to music as their job. And I don't understand that. I would want that as a job personally. But so we just decided, hey, let's do this. And if we do it right, and I think we have, it's going to become kind of its own, just breathing, like living on its own. We're not going to have to worry about constantly adding new music to it. We, of course, we're still going to keep adding music to it. We're nowhere near that point of just, hey, we don't need to anymore. Um, but we're going to keep adding music to it. But then we can also focus more on student produced stuff because that's what it's all about. It's about the students. So yeah, I mean, doing more of the student production, just doing stuff like, I mean, we're airing News One stories right now. Yeah, right now.
Cool. So that's pretty cool. So that whole process seems pretty cool. Like just you and someone else is, I guess, kind of going through and deciphering, okay, this is what makes the cut for a program or anything like that. That sounds like a job I'd want too, honestly. I mean, I get to listen to
Yeah,
music for a living, that's pretty,
yeah.
I mean, that's what I do
Well,
now for free.
yeah. Well, no, it was just me.
Oh, really? So just
Yeah,
you
it
and
was my boss, Johnny Story, made a list of songs to go through. And I was the one that's this summer. I probably listened to, I think maybe 70 to 80% of what's on the station.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm I'm so tired of it.
That's pretty
I know
crazy.
I went home for the summer for a week during the summer,
Mhm.
and I was driving around with my dad, and I just there was I had, of course, going through, you're going to find songs that you want to put in your own playlist. And so I put a couple into my playlist, but I found that just cluster of them all
Mhm.
in my playlist. And I skipped through every single one of them. My dad was sitting there going, "You don't like your own music?" I said, "No, I need a break from it."
Yeah, that little break for sure can, I guess, really help you too. But
Yeah.
so it's kind of crazy the fact that like you're given a list and you listen to, like we said, like a good chunk of that part that made the list. Like I actually made like that final cut of it.
Yeah. I think, what was it? I looked the other day whenever we launched, and we have 1,102 songs on there.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. We still got a ways to go, though. I mean, when our old station, whenever we took it off, it had 5,000 something.
Yeah,
So, I mean, we still got a ways to go. I mean, there's plenty of stuff out there.
yeah,
Um, and I mean, the good thing about us being a college radio station is we're playing stuff that other stations don't play. It's from the 90s. Like, there's a group called the Stone Coyotes.
oh really? I never heard of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so they sound like they're like a legit Texas group, like a Texas country alt rock band,
Mhm.
but they're from Maine.
What? The
Yeah.
other
And I
part of
mean,
the
they sound,
country?
yeah, I know it's so weird, but I mean, they're great. And I mean, I've grown up listening to them, and I was like, well, I wonder if they have anything from the 90s. And sure enough, they do. And so that's why we're putting stuff on there that was from the 90s that, some people don't know, but it's still going to be something new. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. That makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. So, like, was that something like? Was there anything in that process of listening to music that you're like back from the '90s era that you're like a new genre that really like piqued your interest that you really didn't think you were going to get into, and you're like, oh man, this is pretty cool, and kind of like explored that you explored that area a little bit more, or you just kind of a big like avid fan of overall music?
I mean, I'm a pretty big, just avid fan overall of music. Really, it wasn't 90s aren't my favorite decade. Got to keep that on the DL there. But I mean, honestly, my favorite decade of music is the 70s,
Oh yeah.
because you had like 70s country and 70s. I mean, dude, I like disco. Come on. Who doesn't like disco?
Yeah.
I know people don't like disco. It's stupid. But, anyways, it's just like, one of those deals where, I mean, there's been a couple bands that I've found out had stuff in the 90s that I didn't know about. And so I'm going through and I'm listening to that stuff. So, I mean, it's, um, I guess, discovering new little corners of different bands, because I mean, some of them in the 90s, they had just started.
Mhm.
And so you get to hear some of their really early stuff, and it's so different from what they are the rest of the time.
For sure. So that's a whole different era, I guess, different type of music for sure. But
Yeah.
speaking of kind of different, I guess different in a little bit, I guess a little bit, kind of going off a little bit, but um I think I don't know where I saw a picture of it from, but the radio station that even got a little bit of a change too, a little bit from the last time I think I did it. Because when I first did it, let me just tell you, it looked like a spaceship whenever I was in it. Now it looks like something like Darth Vader or something would be flying or something. It looks like I got new monitors, new boards, new stuff like that. So like, what?
um,
That's what's crazy.
so
Go ahead.
all we did was get a new monitor.
Oh
That's
really?
it. Yeah. No, I mean, the new monitor makes everything else in there look so much better. And, I mean, we don't need it for the whole split screen
Yeah.
thing and all that. But I mean, it looks cool.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It looked cool. I mean, whenever I did it, when I first, I guess, I don't know if it was just me that I guess initially thought I was like, when I first got into the first, I guess, studio the very first time, I was scared to death to do it.
Oh, dude, that's everybody. I'm having to go through and train new students to go on air right now.
Yeah.
And there was one kid. It was funny. It was hilarious. So he gets there, and he's sitting there, and then he just hits the microphone, to turn it on, raises the fader up, and he just goes, and then he like sits back, and then he like started to pull it back down. And I said, and I like pointed at the piece of paper that told him what to read. I said, just read that.
Yeah, that's crazy. I remember whenever I did it, you're gonna laugh at this one. Mine's worse than that. That kid, I lowered the bar so low. My very first time I went on air, like my very first break, whatever. I did the thing. I went up, turned the fader up, or anything like that, and switched it up. And I was like, "Hi, I'm," and then looked at the card or whatever, and I'm like, "This is KWTS," and yeah, and then that's all I did. I was so horrible. I was like, it was one of those things where I got so stuck in my own head that like I was like, watch, I want to get jumbled up and then watch. And it finally did, but I felt like ultimately I needed it's weird, it's kind of weird. I kind of feel like I needed that mess up in order to
Yeah.
one second, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Um yeah, sorry. I feel like I needed that mess up in order to go forward a little bit, if that makes sense. So I felt like
Oh yeah, for sure.
had I like not messed up, I felt like, oh man, I got this, and I would have got a bigger head, and like that mess up would have been ginormous in the future, you know. So
Yeah.
that I just remember that vividly. My very first time, my very first break, I was like, I was gonna mess up, and I ended up messing up. It was so horrible, dude. Like I think about that all the time. It's just
Does it haunt your dreams at night, Carter?
actually, matter of fact, yes. So yeah. No, I was kidding. No, I think about it serious so often. I kind of cringe for a little bit. I'm like, why am I even like? Why did that even like bother me? I feel like I needed to do that, but yeah, it was kind of funny. I was like, I was because I was the same situation. I was with like I think the program director at that time, was in the room with me, and like it was like one of those things where it's like, oh, man, you're so embarrassed that you did it, but for me, I feel like I was embarrassed that I was like I did it with somebody in the room. You know, I was like,
Yeah.
man, I felt like 2 feet tall.
No, man, you just gotta roll through those things. I mean, there's yeah, that's what I tell the new students to sit there and just like, hey, you're gonna screw up the first time. I'm gonna laugh at you. Just roll with it.
Yeah. So what's that like? What kind of monitor are you using? Kind of go back to what we're talking about, like because back when I was doing it, like you had like the whole split screen going on.
Yeah, just the two Dell monitors.
Yeah,
No, we got it's like a Sony or something now.
oh, really? Is it
Yeah.
the same kind of situation that I got going on last time, where it's like you had that same catalog and you just play what's going on? Is that the
Yeah.
idea?
Yeah. We haven't changed too much of it. I mean, one, we're in the middle of the semester and we're training a whole bunch of new students that have already been trained on the old system. So we wanted to keep it simple and not make them freak out because they're, man, you toss a new kid in there and then 2 weeks later you're like, hey, so we're doing something different now. They're sitting there going, oh my
Oh my
gosh.
god!
Like, I mean, so we're not the station for your generation anymore. We're 90s on the one.
Oh really?
And yeah, so we're having to go through and retrain everybody on what to say. And they were sitting there, and there was a kid that was before his jog break. He was sitting there going, 90s on the one, 90s on the one, 90s on the one, 90s on the one. And then he like gave himself an asthma attack and had to take a puff of his inhaler. It was the funniest thing ever. He was sitting there. He goes, 90s on the one, 90s on the one. 90s on the one. All right. I was sitting there going like, dude. And the funny thing is the kid is a Brockbuster.
Really?
I mean, he's riding
Like,
some rank
yeah.
stock there. And I mean, I'm sitting there going, dude, do you not get this freaked out about that? He goes, nah, man.
He's out there like doing like these crazy animals. He just you know,
Exactly.
that would be me, honestly, my pro air inhaler, honestly. But
See what the
but
funny thing to do with the freshmen now is to go in there and just you don't move the fader at all. You just go in there and press the button that makes them live.
oh, so then you
And
can't hear them.
because well, no, so they're live, but if you don't move the fader, you're fine
Yeah.
because they're just sitting there and they go, oh my gosh, and they're just freaking out, and then you just walk out of the room.
That's a pretty funny thing. Like just to give them that,
It
just give them
really
their own
is.
psyche, act like they're live, but they're really like. I mean, they're live, but you can't hear
You can't
anything.
hear them. See,
Yeah.
that's the it's probably a bad thing that I'm graduating in December,
Yeah.
and I've done this job forever, and I know I can get away with stuff, and so I'm bored, and so I got to find ways to entertain myself.
So you found a way to do it. So you just walk
I
in.
did find a way to do it, and they don't like it.
So
Well,
you're
the
not.
students don't. The teachers get a kick out of it.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Man, I wish I was there long enough to do radio more. because
Yeah.
I only did like radio for, like I said, a semester. But man, it feels like you're like, I would do the same thing honestly, but I would think about it. But the fact that you're thinking about it and doing it, that's like
Yeah.
that's the perfect. Just going in there, I can see myself literally doing something like that, just going in there and like hitting that red button, like, hey, you're on your own, sink or swim, let's go, and then just say peace, and see what the reaction.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'll listen to them whenever I'm just driving around, and I'll call them at the station, and I'll just do voices. I'll sit there and go, "Is this KWTS?" And they're sitting there going, "Well, yes, ma'am, it is." And I'll sit there going, "Okay, can I hear Slipknot?" And then they're sitting there going, "Okay."
Okay, but
Yeah, I know. They're just like,
like,
"That's a weird request for that person," but okay.
I remember the first time I had to take a call on the radio station.
Oh yeah,
Um, so I forgot who it was, a lab tech at the time. I forgot, I'm losing his name, but so I this is actually ironically that I think that day or the maybe my last shift before that, I asked the lab tech, I was like, hey, so like what happens like if someone calls, if like does it go me? Like I asked like 21 questions every time. I was like,
right.
I'm just trying to get the information before I actually have to do it. And then so I asked the lab tech, I was like, so like what happens if someone like calls in? Does it go live? I mean, not me not knowing anything about like how the radio WT works.
Yeah.
So does it go to the radio? Does it go on air? He's like, no, it's actually you just hear it, whatever. You just hear it on the phone or you just pick up whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. And then literally my next shift, my
He
first
called
break,
you.
yeah, someone called. No, he didn't call me, someone else did. Um so I think a girl called and I was like, hey, I was like, I literally forgot like one ear and one out the other kind of thing. I kind of forgot. So someone called in, the light starts strobing. So I answer
Yeah.
the phone and I'm like, hey, this is Carter for the KWTS. And my break just ended, or either it just ended or just started. I can't remember. I was like, oh no, we're live.
Oh,
So
you were live.
so I didn't. Well, I thought I was live mentally,
Oh, okay.
and so that's what it was. I just ended my break, so I think something happened to where I thought I was live. So I froze there, like, hey, this is Carter. What's going on? Because I thought like it was being broadcast. My phone call was being broadcasted. Cause totally forgot that it doesn't go out live.
No, we don't. Yeah, no, we're nowhere near set up to do that.
I wish I would have remembered that during my shift. So I was like, so the girl goes, so do you have this one song from this one band? I'm like, I was trying to make it quick, but I was like frozen, like in fear. So I was like, well, let me check. So I looked through the catalog. I'm like, yeah, we have it. You want me to play it? They're like, yeah. So it was like the most awkward phone call ever.
My gosh,
So that's
dude.
the first one. So I actually had a few more after that. I redeemed myself, but
Yeah,
it's always the first ones for me that I'm like made myself the most awkwardest person on earth. So
right.
I was always thought like, oh no, did the guy tell me it does speed broadcast or it doesn't? Because I wanted to play it safe just in case if it was, but I wasn't playing it safe at all. I was being the most awkward person ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just crazy. That made me think when you said that inhaler guy with inhaler made me think about the phone call.
Man, and he's funny too. I mean, I'm sitting there going like, dude, what is your deal?
Just crazy. But oh man, that's sorry, you kind of went off a different path. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no. I see a rabbit hole, I go down it.
Oh, I'm the same way to you, ADD over here. So but yeah, so we're talking about, I think if I remember right, we're talking about the format of everything. So like, oh, like the screen and everything, like the change of the monitor and everything like that.
Yeah.
So that's all it was. It's mainly just what the monitor. That's only
It was we all we did was switch out the monitor in there.
really has it been like more beneficial with the monitor yet?
I think so. I mean, it's a bigger screen, and so I mean, I think that helps whenever you're trying to go through stuff quickly and make sure you're like actually checking stuff.
Yeah.
So
So that's pretty cool. So you said you got about a little over 1,000 songs in there. So right,
yeah,
that's pretty cool. So they actually got a little bit of a catalog, a little bit. You got it going.
yeah. I mean, we got it. We looked through stuff, and we're curious about when stuff is going to start repeating.
Mhm.
And I mean, we got a while before that. So I mean, we're good for now.
That's pretty cool. So y'all gonna have to like actually re. This is miss me just thinking out loud. So sorry, but is this like are y'all gonna have to like re-record like the Swifters and all that, all the and everything else, like all of that again?
Yep.
I not thought about
That's
that.
the
That's
that's
done
the
on me.
next that's the that was the deal that kept us from going on a little sooner. Cause so let me think. I've had the station running since 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Mhm.
And so I've had it running since then, but we didn't have the production yet. And so we had to get all new production, we had to record new production, and we just have enough just to get by for a little bit.
Mhm.
And so gonna have to go through and start recording again. And I mean, I've got an idea for a couple of stuff, and so I'm gonna do that.
That's pretty cool. At least you
Yeah,
got some ideas. You're kind of ahead of the curve a little bit. So
yeah,
people hearing this are probably like who are non-con majors and listening to this. They're like, okay, what are these words that they're throwing around? Like Swifters are like those little commercials you hear
yeah.
in between songs or
So
anything like that. They're called commercials, but KWTS is not. You can probably
no, we're
explain
not
better.
commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you just want me to go through and say what each of them are basically real quick or something?
No, like I guess you kind of explain like you said WT is a non-commercial like
Right.
radio station. Can you
So
explain that to like someone who doesn't have the brightest idea of what it is?
okay. We get federal funding, and that's part of it. Because we're non-commercial, so we're funded by the government. Because of that, we do not have ads. I mean, we cannot give a call to action to say, hey, you should go check out um, Carter Hall's podcasting company or whatever. We can't do that. We can say thank you to Carter Hall's podcasting company for supporting us. That's it. That's the main thing. And then our goal is because geez, I'm turning into Randy. Um, and so the deal is because the airwaves are owned by the people, and it's not you can't buy the airwaves there for the whole world essentially. Um, so that means that we have to also educate as well. So that's why we play the PSAs like the drunk driving stuff and wildfires. Um, so yeah, that's
Pretty much what it is, and that's
pretty much it.
yeah. So I remember learning about that in the practicum and everything. I was like, huh, this is pretty neat. So we're not have to listen to commercials at all, really.
Oh, you
You know,
still got yeah.
yeah, not really, but like like the lame commercials you hear normally on radio, like blah blah blah
Yeah,
blah,
that's what
like you know,
drives me nuts is whenever they got like 7 minutes worth of commercials.
yeah.
And it's like, man,
You hear someone
you
say,
guys are missing it.
you hear the DJ and the actual commercial radio say like, "Welcome to 30 minutes of non-commercial radio," and then they play like a 20-minute commercial before they get into actual music itself. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
what's the point of?
Yeah.
But I love
Exactly.
radio. I love music and radio though as a whole. But like, I
Yeah.
want to do the music, man.
Yeah. No, and I mean I think that if people would just rework how they were doing stuff, I think.
Yeah.
And so instead of doing those blocks of just commercials right there,
Mhm.
do, a song or two and then a commercial, song, commercial, going back and forth. Cause I mean, those commercials really should be about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all it takes to get all your information out there. Um, and I mean, that then you can cut down on time that you're spending on, you know, boring people to death where they want to switch the station. And then people are able to sit there and listen and like, oh, okay, well, that's great. I'm going to continue listening to this station because now there's music.
Yeah.
So, not to go on a rant and I'll get off my soapbox now, but
You're all good, man. Do you think since we're on the topic, I'll ask you real quick. Do you think there'll ever be a like a change, or do you think just radio is just going to be the same thing as it is?
man, I think that I told Randy and the president, Walter Wendler, this the other day, but it's going to still be there, but it's going to find more of a place as far as live events. So like live sports and stuff like that, totally fine. They're not going to have to worry about it. Um, but then what I think would be cool personally, I think it would be great if, you can, well, there's a radio station in New Braunfels, Texas.
Mhm.
And what they do is they have a kind of a partnership deal worked out with what's it called? I think it's a brewery or a pub, or I don't know, some sort of venue.
Mhm.
And what they do is they do like weekly shows where it's like Roots and Branches, and it's hosted by a singer. I think it's actually hosted by Ray Wiley Hubbard
Oh,
that
really?
does it. Yeah, and they'll have artists on there, and I mean they had what's his name, Willis Allen Ramsey, I think, and they find like the just most obscure people. Like I mean, this dude had one album in the '70s,
Oh, really?
and I mean, but he's still people know him,
Yeah.
and so yeah, that's I mean, I think that like podcasting and stuff, totally fine. I think that it's going to start turning into more of like people aren't going to own radio stations, you're going to own a podcasting company.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that it'd be cool. It's just me thinking here, but if we could start airing podcasts, like just radio in general, like I mean, still have that live aspect, and people need to make sure to keep it local because that's where radio, you know,
Mhm.
that's what makes it different is it's local. Um, so yeah, that's it. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a
Okay.
good. Yeah, you're good. So I think that's a good idea too. I think podcasting as a whole. I mean, this is me as a podcast. I was saying that, but me personally, not like Carter, not the podcast. I think genuinely, I think that's the way to go too. Like you said, I think radio is one of those things. Like people listen to it, but like I could be wrong personally. I
Yeah.
think, but like it's just one of those things. It's like news. It's going to be eventually be like newspapers. It's going to be one of
Yeah.
those mediums or like kind of thing. Like you said, local podcast could be the way to go eventually in the future. I
Right.
think if it's played right.
And I mean, the thing is about podcasts is you run into a problem. Like, so this is um, part of the deal is I think that if what was it, like Spotify and stuff like that
Mhm.
don't get you into a jam if you're going to try and use music in your podcast.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the deal. It's like, you can, there's, what was it? His name is, he does like a radio show, but it's a podcast.
Oh,
But
really?
so yeah. And so his deal is he plays music and stuff and introduce people to different artists, but he's also buddies with the artists. And so that's how he can get away with uh, them not coming after him and wanting him to not play his music.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's just that's the rough part about the podcasting deal, I think, because I mean, radio, no problem. You get the music for free, but with like podcasting, it's like, well, hold up a second.
Yeah.
I don't know. Both sides have pros and cons. I do think it's going to go more towards podcasting in the future. So yeah,
Yeah. I think that's a good way to. I think a good route for it to go. Like you said, the way that I upload the audio for version of my podcast is through this website called Anchor, which is bought out by
yeah,
Spotify. And I don't know if you ever like been an
I've
Anchor.
messed with it a little bit.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, who kind of like just a quick example, it's like the way I upload it, you can either record it in there or upload a file or anything like that with it, like that's how I get the audio version out to everybody. So, but like since it's bought out by Spotify, you can actually they promote like you actually play music
Right.
legit from Spotify, like little snippets of it. So like
Yeah, but it's only 30 seconds, isn't it?
yeah, it's like a little
If
bit
it's a
like
yeah. Like what was it like if you don't have a premium member listening to it, it's only 30 seconds of the song, isn't it? But then
yeah,
if it's like if you're like a paid Spotify member or whatever,
yeah.
you,
If
you
you're
get the
paying
whole song.
yeah, you can legit get the whole song or anything like that. And what's cool about it too is that you could also you could, like get advertisements for it too. Like you could do
Right.
like live reads or whatever, ad reads, whatever stuff for it
Yeah.
too. So it's like all these it gives you the opportunities, the tools to do different stuff. So it's pretty neat. So I mean the fact that like you said, playing music and doing podcasts together at the same time, is one of those things where I think it can really go hand in hand in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And I mean, I'm not going to try and be that guy, but not everybody needs a podcast.
yeah, for sure.
I mean, what was it? There's somebody that mentioned it to me the other day, and I was sitting there going, that is the most boring idea I've ever heard in my life. Why?
for sure. I mean, I started this podcast like last April 2021, and
Yeah.
I'm still like, why am I still? I mean, I'm still doing a podcast. I love it, but it's like,
Right.
I mean, I'm doing it as a hobby, kind of like hopefully
Yeah.
for a future.
Right.
But I mean, I'm still at the point like, sure, let's interview people. Let's like have a conversation with somebody about this. That sounds pretty
Yeah.
cool. Let's talk about that kind of thing. I mean, honestly, there's not that much thought into this podcast, to be honest with you. I mean, as far as like topic, I mean, so there is like, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I mean, I'm not like Joe Rogan or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not looking for the $100 million Spotify contract or anything like that.
You ever tried DMT? I'm just kidding.
No, yeah. So what was your experience like there, Isaiah? I was kidding. No.
I was just wandering in the desert.
So what about ayahuasca? I'm just kidding. I was kidding. No. So yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, podcasting, I think, is going to be that new medium. I think everybody, at least our generation, get into rather quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I guess to kind of wrap things up, getting a good like, if I can speak right, Costa, I have a podcast. I can't speak. So I
It's
guess
okay.
So I guess look further to the end of this podcast. Is that a sentence, right? What is kind of like KWTS? Are they doing something at the parade, right, for homecoming weekend?
Yeah. Dude, we have so much crap going on.
Yeah, I just felt like this podcast has been like the stressful podcast.
This has been the last 6 months of my life, dude. So KWTS, we are doing our 50th birthday celebration. And so we're also using it as a reunion for the past alumni and everything. So starting at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, we will be having alumni hosting their own shows on KWTS.
That's pretty cool.
It is. And so they are doing that. And that's pretty much it. I mean, we're doing that all day. And then we got, we're of course, going through the parade. And we're going to have a kind of a birthday party setup deal going on over at the studios. And so it's going to be a fun time. I mean, I'm excited about it. Kind of ready for it to be done.
Yeah, I can see that.
It looks one of those deals where it's just, man.
Yeah, you're the one who's putting on the whole marathon and running it yourself. You're not the. Yeah. You're just looking forward to the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I didn't have a good night's sleep until probably about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow. Really? So you're just really busy doing all this stuff.
Awesome. Yeah.
You're not just like you said, you're not just doing like KWTS stuff. You're like a full-time student too, and doing everything else that a regular student is doing. So it's like all that stuff is like piling up. It feels like this isn't.
Well, yeah. On top of that, I'm on my last semester, so I have to deal with all the graduation stuff. And yeah.
Gosh, I remember my last semester too. That was like completely.
When did you graduate?
To what?
When did you graduate? 2021 or 2?
May of 2022.
Oh, okay, yeah.
This past May, yeah. I did think about it. And literally, that's what I felt like that whole last semester for me personally. I don't know what's going like for you, but for me, it was like a blur. It felt like it feels like you get that last semester, you get into like a train or a car, and you're going 100,000 miles a second, and then by like you're done, and you're like, what now? Like what just happened the last few months? Like, I don't even remember. I feel like I just started. Now I got an internship. I got this. I got that. It's like now I got to start playing for graduation. Well, now life after grad, it's like all this stuff. It's like, so I understand. I guess when I say I understand where you're coming from, but you have the added stress of like changing the whole radio station around too. So you got that. Yeah. So that's a really like commendable that you're actually cool that you're actually doing all that too. So that's pretty awesome that you're actually doing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't recommend it.
Don't recommend it. So hopefully this format stays out there for a while before the next. Hopefully.
Well,
So
This is our first format change in 50 years.
wow.
So, I mean, yeah, I'm the one that did it.
So congratulations, you won the lottery as it.
Yeah, won the lottery, staying up at the school for 55 hours for 2 weeks. That's great.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
55 hours in 2 is a lot of work. That's crazy. So
Yeah.
we kind of touched on it all. It feels like I mean, I think we touched on it all. I don't know. Do you remember anything that you wanted to talk about before we head out? Because we talked about the different format, what's going on at homecoming tomorrow.
Not particularly, no. I mean, I can't think of anything. I think we got everything covered. So
That's pretty cool. We talked about podcasting. We talked about my horrific stories thing on the radio. So, yeah. So I kind of
believe me, there's worse, dude.
I stick to podcasting, so that's why I can go back and edit stuff. So post production. But yeah, so sounds like all your work is finally coming to its.
It is.
Coming
it
to
is
its end,
nice
finally
to listen to the radio and hear 90s music coming out, and it's like, man, all right, I can take a break, I can breathe.
Yeah, take a little breather for sure. I mean, I can't wait to listen to some more of KWTS. I tune in. I still have the WT app on my phone, so I tune in areas because I live in Amarillo, so our feed doesn't reach all the way for some reason. But so I still listen.
It should.
Oh, really?
That's weird. It should.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd catch it all the way going out of Amarillo.
Oh, really? Maybe. Yeah. Maybe just my car being.
Maybe so.
I don't know. I have a real stupid car. Watch it break down tomorrow. Hopefully not. But yeah, so yeah, I'm looking forward to a lot of new stuff, dude. So congratulations on the good work so far. I mean, you put a lot of work in, and it's really showing. So, yeah, talked about a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming, Mike. On. I'll let you go have a break. Have a break for sure for the rest of your day. So
yeah, I might take a quick nap.
It sounds like you need one. A couple naps while you're at it. So cool. Thanks, man. Have a good rest of your weekend if you can.
All right. You too. See ya.
See you, man. Bye.